Welcome to the Seahawkers podcast. We are celebrating our bye week. I'm your host, Clinton Bunner. I am joined by my good buddy, Adam Emmerich. Adam, we are 5-2. Our Seahawks are cruising. We have a nice, relaxing weekend. But Adam, on the Seahawkers podcast, do we relax and not create amazing content just because we have a bye week?
Oh, absolutely not. In fact, a bye week just gives us more opportunity to put out more cool stuff. I know we got a lot of cool stuff in the hopper ready to go, including what we've got going on today, Clinton. You were able to reach out to Coach Derek from All 22 once again, and he's going to join us today, talk a little bit about what we're celebrating as the 5-2 Seahawks, some things that we can do better, and what the bye week might end up being for the team going forward here and the changes that they make. So I'm fired up for it, bud.
Yeah, absolutely, for sure. So we do have Coach DC, Coach Derek of All 22 Films. He's one of the best NFL film analysts out there. You got to check out his channel. He is really doing a lot of Seahawks content lately. We're going to discuss it. He's talking JSN. He's talking Nuosu. He's talking Murphy. He's talking Sam and Clint Kubiak getting along like best buddies. It's going to be a real good time. So let's, in fact, Coach, there you are, my man. I hope you're doing great. I know you're a Ravens fan, so I hope that you have been able to get absorbed with lots of great NFL coverage, because I know it's been a tough go for your Ravens so far, especially with tough. Yeah.
I mean, like it's almost like watching multiple car crashes occur over and over and over again at the same intersection, and no one listens to anyone about, hey, maybe you need to stop and make sure that you're making a proper left-hand turn. We're an absolute mess.
Yeah, and a lot of Ravens fans that I see out on Twitter are, let's say, openly missing Mike Macdonald, right? So we'll get into Seahawks, but from a Ravens perspective, because that's the team you love. You cover the Lions a lot, you cover the Seahawks a lot. Very interesting teams, dynamic teams. Is it as simple as that? Is this just, there's a void and the current DC is not as good, or is it also just like, well, you're also missing your quarterback, or is there just some pot of bad news this year?
I mean, all of the above, but I think at various times there's just certain people, coaches, who have a great ability to adapt, during the game, with their calls on the offensive or the defensive side. And look, there's been games where Mike Macdonald got it wrong. I mean, I remember late 2023 against the Rams, the Ravens, spectacular defensive season that year, historic, really. Sean McVay and those guys came there and quite honestly probably should have beat us. I thought they absolutely outcoached us. So sometimes you get it wrong, but by and large, man, I mean, the play calling rhythm and how things have to be adapted at times in the middle of a quarter or the middle of a game, he seems really great at that. And, also one thing I do want to identify that I think separates him from multiple other guys, to me, it seems like Mike Macdonald and his staff are great at attacking your pass protection schemes. Mm-hmm. It's not just about the players, the matchup. It's about which pass pro scheme are you most likely going to be in on this next 2nd and 7? And then what blitz call do I have to give to match up with that and try to exploit it? And I'm not smart enough to be able to prove all that, but we have no feel on that in Baltimore. None. And Macdonald had that in spades. You could see it every week. It was like, we haven't ran this blitz in 3 weeks, and suddenly this week we're running it 6 times. It takes me a while to recognize. I'm like, it's because the other team has trouble with this particular pass pro scheme. So I think that's one of the things that separates him, as well as the coverage, versatility, and timing on the calls. To me, it's attacking certain pass pro schemes.
Yeah, we saw a good amount of that just last week, this before the bye versus the Texans, where Macdonald did dial up some more exotic blitzes, and we got a lot of free runners. We got whether it was Drake Thomas, Ty Okada, Josh Jobe off the edge, we were getting free runs at CJ Stroud, and he was getting happy feet left and right. So do want to remind folks, say, hey, we have Coach Derek. We put out lots of great content for y'all. All we ask is that you're out there, youtube.com/Seahawkers podcast. Hit the likes, hit the subscribes. Nowadays, you could also, of course, comment when the video's done, and you can hype the video, which is a new thing, which is also helping us get this out to more people. You're going to want to get this out to 1212s, because Coach Derek is just one of the best out there. Coach, we put this poll out on YouTube. By the way, do you use the YouTube poll feature yet for your channel?
Occasionally, I have used it. It seems as if there's certain things like that I just run out of time every week. I find myself waking up on Thursday and going, "How is it Thursday already?"
I know. Yeah.
So there's certain content that you want to do on Monday, Tuesday, or maybe even Wednesday each week that by the time you get to Thursday, it's no longer necessarily relevant. So I'm kind of in that position each week. So no, not as often as I'd like to. So it's really cool.
Yeah, we're having good success with it, and just another way just to get people interacting with us and us to hear from them too. And it's great content. So we put it out there after the Texans game, saying, "Hey, heading into the bye week, who is the most impactful rookie?" And I'd say no surprise, 8 out of 10 Seahawker fans out there. Flockers are saying 81% are saying it's Gray Zabel. But, coming up in second place now is Eamon Wari. I've got a feeling, Coach, we're going to talk about both of those guys in our discussion. And I got your channel on screen here as well. This is what it looks like out on YouTube. So for Coach Derek and everybody out there, make sure you go and follow, subscribe, hit that bell. And I just took a screenshot of a couple of the videos that he's done recently. But, Coach, at this time, 1 or 2 Seahawks videos a week is kind of your cadence. Is that about right?
Try to, yeah. I wish I had more time to do more stuff for every team. I wish that all 3 of these teams were 6-1 or what have you. They couldn't necessarily be undefeated because the Ravens and Lions have played each other. But I wish that I had time to do that, and I do this consistently, no matter what job or coaching thing I do. I overcommit, and I love it because it forces me. No, I love it. I think it makes you get better, hopefully. So 1 or 2 a week is my minimum goal. This week it's been more than others because, the Ravens are on a bye. Next week, Detroit and Seattle are both on a bye, and the Ravens have 2 games in 4 days. I was, kind of rewarded with the schedule like that. But it won't be that thereafter because, obviously neither of the 3 will have a bye moving forward.
Yeah. Well, for 1 or 2 videos a week, if you're a Seahawks fan and you're not getting over to all 22 with Coach Derek here and checking out the videos, you're flat out doing it wrong. Do better. Hey, go and check it out.
Absolutely. All right. So, Coach, I'm going to bring it back on screen here. There we are. All right. So we got some questions lined up for you, and we also sourced some from our Discord, from our flockers, and folks could get involved with that at gettingtheflock.com. So we got some great questions. All right. So first one, let's start on the defensive side of the ball. Sound good to you, Coach? I think you like defense, yeah? All right.
That's my thing.
Okay. So we look at the sack totals, and Seattle now has 23 sacks on the year. So they're tied for third. You got the Broncos running away with it with like 34. I think the Rams are 26, and then Seattle's tied for third with 23. That's a good amount of sacks. Yet there's a pretty big contingent of Seahawks fans that feel that Seattle still should go out and pursue like an elite edge rusher. What's your take on that? Do they need to do that, or are they getting enough? Are they getting home enough and creating enough pressure without having to make a trade right now?
I mean, just based on what I have seen from Macdonald, if he's there another 5 years, you're looking at over that 5-year period 250 sacks at minimum, because 50 a year is basically what you're talking about. I think last year was 44, 46, something like that.
About that, yeah.
Yeah, and that was down. Based on what I thought, especially in light of the fact that Leonard Williams had was 11 and a half, which was an uptick for him in his career. I think it's only the second time that he had 11 plus, but that doesn't, double digit plus. But that doesn't surprise me. Consistently, you see people, I don't know if I really want to say overperform, but exceed their previous averages or totals under the Mike Macdonald system. And that even counts in college. When he moved to Michigan, his 1 year at Michigan, David Ojabo had done nothing to that point, and I think he gets 11 sacks, maybe 12, something like that. The 1 year that Macdonald was the DC, Aiden Hutchinson had 4 career sacks leading up to that season, and he exploded with, I think, 14 or maybe 15. So Macdonald leaves, and of course, Aiden Hutchinson has continued on that trajectory. He's a great player. When he came to Baltimore, Justin Houston 9.5 sacks. JPP comes back. I think he only gets 3.5. But Kyle Van Noy, 2023, Jadeveon Clowney, 2023, goes to Seattle last year, and I do wonder if the experience level of DeMarcus Lawrence and Uchenna Nwosu is what he needs to succeed with a multiple rush scheme that's dependent on adapting to the opponent, what the opponent offers each week. Byron Murphy being in his second year, huge element as well. He's at what, 4.5?
Yes.
So, but I'm comparing it to Derek Hall and Boye Mafe, and I just don't think those two guys are as versatile in the ability to adapt during the game. Hey, they're pass proing this way, so we've got to go to this stunt or this twist. And I'm a huge Boye Mafe fan. I mean, I've done probably 5 or 6 videos on him dating back to his rookie year, in fact, 2022. But I have to admit, Nwosu and Lawrence are, significant upgrades over those two guys, and I think that's why they're getting a lot of opportunities. It's a great story with Nwosu. I get it that it's probably fashionable, not you guys, but it's fashionable by some to say, oh, he doesn't play a whole lot of games, so when's he going to get hurt? I mean, he's playing his ass off right now and deserves a lot of credit for it. I think 5 sacks, 8 quarterback hits. Quite honestly, to me, it seems like he's the more reliable guy compared to Hall and Mafe, and that's why he's getting the opportunities. I don't have the same concerns, but I cannot lie. If you were able to go get a Trey Hendrickson, I could not dissuade someone from pursuing that avenue. He's a badass football player that wins organically, consistently against left tackles, and I know that personally from watching the Ravens play him so many years. He's a I forget what it's called from Lord of the Rings. I think it's Dementors or something like that. That's what he is. He just shows up and he's like horrible to deal with for 60 minutes because he's going to make an impact. So I think it could be either or, Clinton. I think that the Seahawks could do what they're going to do with the guys they have on the roster right now. But if you go out there and get a positional upgrade, then maybe you're looking at an average of 58 or 60 sacks a year, which is what he produced in 2023, by the way. I think we had 61.
Whew. Jeez.
Yeah, that's a lot. So we talk a little bit about the front and the pass rush, and it's been honestly a joy to watch as a Seahawks fan, seeing Mike go to work. I think the next thing that pops off the screen is Eman Warri's return and what he's been doing in the defensive backfield without Spoon there. And we go into this bye week. We're going to get all these guys back. We're getting Spoon back, getting Love back, the whole gang. I heard Mike Macdonald say in his presser the other day that during the bye week, he's going to have to figure out how to play his players. So talking about that wealth of talent that he has to draw from in the secondary, which is an amazing problem to have. But to me, it feels like it's a non-negotiable that going forward, the Eman Wari and Spoon are on the field at the same time as much as possible. But if it were you going forward here with this really great problem, how would you attack that? What would you do personnel-wise with this plethora of talent?
I think I'll start with what I would not do. And I would not play Eman Wari as a dime linebacker. I didn't, to the boundary, which is the will linebacker position. And it just didn't seem to be early in the season when I saw that. And I think there was even 2 preseason snaps, maybe 3 at that. So things could be drastically different. That just doesn't seem to me to be in the best interest long-term for him and for the Seahawks. He looks like a dedicated nickel DB to me, and one that he's got tremendous potential. Witherspoon is the same way, but now you've got Job. I even thought that I saw Reek Woolen playing well last week. To me, the energy level, I thought there was an increase, a leveling up, if you will. He looked, to me, to be the scary type of defender that you all really want him to be and that everyone remembers from that, historic rookie season, obviously. So I would like to see him on the field as much as possible, and that will happen if you stop or slow down the run. Then you get opportunities to get those guys on. I do think that Macdonald's system, no matter where he's been, has been one that's relied upon an occasional rotation of corners that's strategic. And I still can't figure it out. I'm not smart enough to figure it out. I don't know whether it's personnel based or field and boundary or what, but I know that he did this in Baltimore, and I know that he could do it, if everyone's healthy. Witherspoon, one of my favorite players, very versatile. And I get it. Some people think that he's better as a nickel DB. I understand why people say that, some of the things that we've seen on film. But nonetheless, if Eman Wari's on the field and you've got Witherspoon, Woolen, and Job, who's a great story himself, I just don't know how you're not using all of them as much as possible. I try to follow back as many people as possible on Twitter from other fan bases. There's 2 other fan bases that constantly are talking about trading for Reek Woolen. I'm thinking to myself, if I'm Seattle, there is no way that I'm moving off of him in 2025 before the season's over, because you never know what happens, and you want as many of those good corners as possible. I think you got to use them, number one. Number two, is truly amazing what they've been able to do without Julian Love and Witherspoon for a significant amount of time in 2025. And then was it the Bucs game when Woolen goes out with a concussion, and it seemed like Baker really targeted Pritchett,
Yes.
I think?
Yes.
Yeah, there's a huge difference in that game, in my opinion. The overall talent level that was on the field. And I think that illustrates the fact that under no circumstances are you talking about either A, moving off of one of those guys early, or B, saying this guy's our starter and the other guy's on the bench. I think he's going to use all of them. I think it's got to be a strategic rotation. Keep them all available because it's a long season. You never know, who you'll need if someone goes down.
So, Coach, let me follow up with this too. So, if we're keeping all these guys on the field at one time, then we're looking at going from a nickel into some dime play, and that means that Drake Thomas has probably got an exit stage left for a bit, and he's been playing sensational at linebacker.
Yeah.
What happens schematically to a team if, like, Seattle's stopping the run, best in the league right now, like EEP, average yard per rush is, I think, tops in the league by quite a bit. So if we do choose to go in the dime more often, and we're down to one linebacker, what can teams potentially do against that type of scheme?
I mean, they're not running the ball on 3rd and 7. There's very few Detroit Lions. Well, I guess, now there's 2 Detroit Lions offenses. Ben Johnson's gone to Chicago, but I'm talking about the teams that are willing to go for it on 4th and 2 consistently. So 3rd and 7, now they're comfortable running the football. But part of that with that team was also that, handing the ball off to Jahmyr Gibbs at any time could be a 30-yard game, because he's such a dynamic player with unbelievable bursts and athleticism. So I just don't see teams running the ball against a dime look on 3rd and 7 that often. If you slow or stop the running game consistently, Mike Macdonald will absolutely, grind up your offense and make it look like something that was put together 2 or 3 days ago. It's just what he does. It's just what that system does and how he trains the players to be versatile and multiple. I don't think you're going to see all these guys on the field at the same time. I don't think you're going to see more dime. I just don't. It sounds enticing. I get it. And even in Baltimore, we had this discussion before this horrific season started, with so many DBs. Are we going to play more dime? I don't know that it's going to work. You kind of want the guys on the field consistently, and whatever the rotation's going to be, I'm not sure that you're going to see more dime, to be honest with you. I know it's probably not the answer you're looking for.
No, actually, I think it's a fabulous answer, because that's like the next gen debate that's happening now. Is we have this great problem, so the easy button is we're going to play dime and have all 6 of them out there, and it's like, well, Adam, you and I were discussing this, being like, well, I think there's a lot of sacrifices that come along with that, and I don't think it's this easy decision that some people seem to be, gravitating towards, Adam.
Oh, for sure. And it means taking Drake Thomas off the field, who's been playing out of his brain for the last few weeks. And it's been a joy to see. Long journey for him. Yeah. But you talk a little bit about, having to stop the run. So you get him to those 3rd and longs, 3rd and 5 plus. And, that's obviously been a function of great defensive line play. But one of the guys that we're seeing take that second-year leap, at least I feel as a Seahawks fan, is Byron Murphy. Mm-hmm. Like, what do you see in his game that's allowed him to get after the quarterback more? Like, because he talked about working on that in the offseason. Is it just him doing some of the same stuff but better, or has he added anything to his bag that you've noticed, or anything like that?
He looks so violent to me. Like, everything, the moves on the offensive lineman look – it's not just the first move, but the second one looks incredibly violent. It almost kind of reminds me of, like, I'm a big boxing and MMA fan, so I heard Mike Tyson one time talking about his trainer at a young age, Customato, and he said, he wanted you to throw 2 punches but make it sound like one, so that they were landing, almost simultaneously, which is, impossible, but that's the idea. And Murphy, some of his moves, they almost kind of, it's almost like the second punch, on a 1-2, if you will, is just as violent and explosive as the first one. Almost like really the first one's a setup, but there's nothing soft or weak about it. And then his finishes. I think it was against Trevor Lawrence. 2 of his finishes there well, one of them was in the pocket. One of them, Lawrence kind of stepped up, and it was DeMarcus Lawrence and Byron Murphy and I think Nwosu who kind of all triangulated them. And I remember seeing it on film and going, damn, that was violent. Like they're committed to their attack angles. I would be very interested to see this Seahawks pass rush and how it's impacted. I'm not saying that it will be minimized, but how it would be impacted against a super athletic quarterback. Like some of Jaden Daniels, Lamar Jackson, Josh Allen, because they're playing so well. I would like to see that matchup, like who's going to impact the other one more, because it's my belief that the Seahawks defense is, one of the top 5 in the NFL. And that's what made last week's game so interesting, because the Texans are a badass group as well. I think Byron Murphy's just very decisive, very clean. And it doesn't seem like, again, getting back to that depth issue, it seems to me as if when he's on the field, he's fresh. There doesn't look to me to be any times where he's on the field. We used to say for defensive linemen, like if they're on the field 7 plays in a row, that might be too much. That you got to get them off. There's got to be get them off the field. There's got to be some kind of rotation. He always looks fresh to me. There's looks 100% commitment to what he's doing. It's been fun to watch. I think 1 or maybe 2 videos on him recently, and just great film.
Yeah, speaking of those videos, we're talking with Coach DC, Coach Derek of All 22 Films. Let's flip it over to the offensive side. One of your videos you put out very recently, about a week ago, a little over now, it was specifically around how Darnold is operating inside Kubiak's system, but the crux of the video was, hey, the Seahawks are generating explosive plays at an impressive clip. When you looked at the film, what are they doing to have this level of consistent success in something as important as creating explosives?
I don't know that the data bears that. I don't know the data, so I'm forwarding this, and saying when I do watch the film, what you're hearing is just what I think, because I don't have time to go look at the data, and I don't, that's for better or for worse. I try to suggest to people who watch my videos, like, hey, take what I'm saying and go watch someone else's video that's got a different slant, and then compare it to the data and make your own conclusion. So I'm not the exclamation point. I'm just, I don't know, like a semicolon or something, so I think that the 12-13 personnel, there's a play from this week against the Texans that perfectly illustrates it. It's Arroyo's catch up the right sideline where he gets behind Derek Stingley. It's created because of the personnel group, so the defense is thinking run, in that situation. And I think Kubiak's got a great sense of which players to attack. He went at Stingley, I think, in that style of play, that play action. One of them worked and one of them didn't. I don't even think Darnold threw the ball. I think Kubiak and his offensive staff do a great job of looking at players on the other team and saying, we can get him with this. And I don't mean the route. I mean the formation, the presentation, what it looks like it quote, should be a run. Those 12 personnel groups, there has to be that. I think it's Sumer Sports I used to look at, has the EPA per play. My guess is the 12 personnel pass play has to be really high.
Yeah, we're killing it. Just your intuition to go ahead and make the videos based on that too. Just saying, hey, this is what I'm seeing. It is backed up by the data. We're one of the most successful in 12 personnel and 13, and we are getting chunk plays. Especially under center with play action out of 12, it's happening basically what we wanted. So you're absolutely seeing it correctly. And I'm excited, Adam, to go back and watch that Arroyo play now, because that was a nice explosive, but that's one, it's a bit of a, it's Arroyo is being slowly worked in, coach, being slowly worked in, but like, it's really all the Seahawks players, sans JSN, they're kind of used, call it what it is, like pretty sparingly. This is a pretty JSN heavy offense.
Oh my God, yeah.
But still, when Kubiak wants to access these other things, we're still having great success.
It seemed to me, at least this last week, I had this thought occur that against the Texans, against the higher level defenses, JSN could kind of win organically. You could almost go to him at any time you wanted to. But some of the other players, it almost needed to be a designed play to be able to win against that level of defense. So like Cooper Kupp had the 32-yard catch that's a little bit of an abnormal play. He's on the left side of the offense, and he kind of snakes underneath like he's going to block, and then Jalen Petre has to follow him. It ended up on Derek Stingley's side. Derek Stingley was cleared out of there by Horton's route. And then the Arroyo play. I do like how he's using a lot of players. The 12-person, the under center stuff I think is great. It seems to suit Darnold. It seems to put them on the right schedule in a pass pro, from a pass pro standpoint, meaning the guys can. I don't think this is a shotgun, throw the ball 38 times a game offensive line. I think it's a very good offensive line, but I think if you were to line up an 11 personnel and throw the ball 38, 40 times, I think eventually some of the pass pro issues would be on display. I think it's a very good offensive line. I think the system that he's using helps them out a lot, and they're really playing exceptional with it. I'm a big fan of the Arroyo draft pick, man. I think it's going to work out well for them.
It's been fun to see his ascension. It's been fun watching the pass game go nuts. And we're talking about all the explosives, all the great stuff from JSN, and then operating out of that 12 personnel in the threat of the running game with the play action pass and how that gets everybody open. But for me personally, it feels like for this team to take the next step to be what I would consider a legit Super Bowl contender, they need to get that run game sorted out a little bit. Cause right now it feels a little boom and busty. And is that what it feels like to you? Is this, are they struggling in like all the different types of runs that they do? Or is it like, hey, the outside zone stuff is where they're struggling, but power, they're killing it, or something like that? Or is it kind of spread across all the different types of runs that they are going with?
Yeah, I feel like you definitely need an upgrade and more consistency at right guard and maybe even center, long term. A good story, and the guy's playing well at times. Two plays from the Texans game, I thought Sundell showed that is how you say it, right? Sundell?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought he showed great awareness. It was two different pass pro plays. I actually illustrated one in the Darnold video that I put out. I guess it was today. At this point, I don't even know what day of the week it is sometimes. So I would say center right guard for me, long term, you would look for some improvement in their play individually or an upgrade from a personnel standpoint, one or both of those. Because when you face the better teams, the better defenses, it's going to be the 49ers again. And that division is crazy right now. I mean, you got the 49ers, the Rams, and the Seahawks. It's shocking how good this division is. I did want to ask you guys, did you notice, talking about personnel groups, switching gears a little bit, sorry, did you guys notice the 0-2 personnel group? No running backs on the field?
I haven't gotten a chance to go back and watch it. My internet was actually down all day today, and this is usually my film day. So, no, I have not seen that one. Again, I'm back going on rewatch here.
Yeah, it's an interesting group. I got it twice in that game against the Texans, maybe three times. So there's literally no running backs on the field, 2 tight ends and 3 receivers. So, it's an empty formation. Yeah, I believe one of them is the JSN catch against Derek Stingley when Stingley traveled over to the other side with JSN. Not the 4th and 1 where he beats Kamari Lassiter. It's against Stingley, maybe in the second quarter. It's an 0-2 personnel group. There's no running back on the field. And when you see that, you're like, this is a drastic departure from what he does. I think it just, illustrates the trust he has in the offensive line. But again, I think it illustrates the point. Sometimes in the pass pro with this team, Kubiak is relying or confident in having 2 additional blockers, 2 tight ends to help out with that. And so that 0-2 personnel group, I think, kind of illustrates or helps understand the way he's attacking downfield in 12 personnel, because a lot of those pass pro on the 12 personnel groups is max pro, or you're getting chips by the tight ends and then they're releasing, which is, typical across the whole NFL. But, the way Kubiak and Darnold are doing this, I mean, the EPA per play has got to be really high on 12 personnel play action.
What I think is interesting about that, the 0-2, I didn't notice it in the rewatch either, but now that you say it, leading into the game, there was a lot of talk about like, look, hey, Seattle sometimes only sends out 2 wide receivers and is into max protect mode. So maybe this is a way to kind of mitigate that, because One of them Stingley and Lassiter, and this is a good group out there. So instead of doing max protect with only 2 options out there, you go to the O2 where you still get a version of max protect, but you get through routes.
Exactly. Just basic math. Yep.
Yeah, it sounds like they put that wrinkle in very specifically. It goes back to what your point was earlier about like, hey, this team is very strong at scheming week to week and exposing these little these nooks and crannies that are available to them, which is kudos to this this group so far. Great job with 7 games in. So very cool wrinkle. I didn't notice it, but love to go and watch it and also see. And also like to go see, do they do it again? Do they do that versus the Commanders or versus the Commanders go like, no, we don't need to do that. Like the DB room is wildly different.
It's the biggest pain in the butt. I've never been anywhere near that level, but it's the biggest pain in the butt when you defensively see something like that on film and you go, oh God, I got to prepare. I got to take, 12 minutes on Monday, 10 minutes on Tuesday and prepare for this. But he don't, maybe not that much, but and then you show up to the game that week and the SOB doesn't run it once.
Mm-hmm.
And then put yourself in the shoes of the next defensive coordinator 2 weeks from there, who's like, okay, 2 weeks ago he ran this and it's dangerous. They can execute it. Last week they didn't run it at all. What do I do? Mm-hmm. Do I not prepare for it? And then they unveil it on, in my case, Friday nights in high school. But, I just have the personality like I have to prepare for it. I cannot allow myself to be exposed like that. So these jerks as offensive coordinators who kind of Andy Reid's one, he'll run something 2 or 3 times in a game and not show it again for 4 weeks. And you're like, oh man, this is awful, because you can't prepare, you can only prepare for so much. So I think Kubiak's kind of trying to get that rotation of here's some things that we'll do every 3, 4, 5 weeks and show that you may have to allocate time for. And back on the Texans a little bit from a personnel standpoint, man, Lassiter, Stingley, and Jalen Petre.
Yeah.
I don't know that you will find a better trio of the 2 outside corners and the nickel DB across the whole NFL from a talent standpoint. Lassiter, I know, ran a slow 40 in the draft, highly rated prior to that combine performance. So to me, this reflects well on what you could do against a high-level defense. Of course, the turnovers is what you'd like to eliminate, right?
Yeah, for sure. And it's also when you win by 8 and you still feels like a lot more than that. Hey, that's a heck of a game to get your turnovers out of the way, right? And don't do that again. Something you mentioned earlier was basically JSN's accessibility, like the way he could access anything or Sam could access him basically on demand. Is there a point of, it's not like a point of no return, but is there a point of JSN saturation where it becomes, we're over tilted, where it's a little dangerous that like we're too dependent on one player. And if someone does figure out how to shut him down, we're going to be staring at a really tough day offensively. Is that a worry, or is it like, nope, he's JSN and they don't have a remedy for him at this point?
In our human brains, of course, right? That's the way our brains work. Okay, we're doing this too much. We're pressing that button too often. Eventually that button's either not going to work or somebody's going to figure out a way to block it. I mean, if it's not Derek Stingley, who's it going to be? I just think that we, even while we're watching this right now, don't maybe even realize how good he is, because it's so, you maybe feel a little spoiled with, he goes 8 for 14 last week and it feels like he's inefficient. One of them was the Cup reverse pass that we talked about pre-show that we all hate, I think.
Yes, we all hate.
and then another one was, I think Darnold is trying to throw it to him the left side like a comeback. It's from the other hash maybe, or maybe it's from the near hash, but it's a throw that I think JSN's open, but for whatever reason, him and Darnold are on the same page. I really don't think JSN was 8 of 14 catches to targets from the way he performed against the coverage he saw. And I think you're going to be hard pressed to find better coverage guys like we talked about a couple of minutes ago. I think my answer has to be no, Clinton, because he's just that good. I'm not sure when that let's do it this way. If you do come across a game where someone is able to successfully take him out of there, they're going to have to be really, really great in coverage and stop the run, because I feel like you're going to have to allocate a lot of guys to hold down JSN somehow. I feel like in that situation, that fictitious one that you're describing or we're describing, the run game would go off 27 carries for 190 in that week, because there'd be this overcompensation to minimize JSN, if that makes sense. That would be my answer, which is kind of a cop-out. Sorry.
No, not at all. Because honestly, Coach, like leading up to this Houston game, I was on this pod saying, hey, man, this dependence on JSN, this could become dangerous. Somebody could figure out how to shut it down. Let's check it out against this Houston team. Great secondary.
Yeah.
Let's see if he can continue on. And then seeing his success against guys like that, knowing full well that the Seahawks are going to spam JSN was amazing. So he scores a touchdown. He dunks it over the goalpost. And I have a very serious question for you. Very serious question. Who had better form? Carrie Strug in the Olympics when she nailed her vault mount, or the ref that tossed the flag for the 15-yard penalty? Because that was hilarious in your video.
Well, I thought you were going to ask about Carrie Strug or JSN, and I was going to say neither. The ref, like even like admired the flag. Like we get the film and we can see a certain portion of it, and then the film just cuts off, and the ref's hand is like in the air, and I can even like see him, like it looks like he's admiring his hand. I'm like, what are you doing? We used to have a saying, a guy that I coached with who was hilarious and just a wonderful dude to coach with. He used to call it too much form, and he would say, that's too much form. There's a such thing that is the requisite amount of form that we need for the technique, and then there's too much. That was too much. I think the ref.
That's awesome.
That was hilarious. I'm telling you, man, that had me rolling on the floor, and you say it so dryly in the video. It killed me, man.
When I talked to, I thought you meant when you saw it on the film. Okay, gotcha.
No,
Yeah.
I didn't notice it until I watched your
couldn't pass it
video, and oh my goodness, I was watching that last night, and dude, hilarious.
Could you? I mean, it's like, can you imagine the ref as any other ref? First of all, do any refs have a sense of humor? But I have to think there's some human qualities there in a couple of refs, and they're like talking to each other, like, "Hey, man, what in the world were you thinking?" Admiring that flag, and he almost even like threw his hip out there a little bit. I was like, "This is way too much."
Full wrist extension, the whole nine. I hope somebody in the ref room, like the quarterback room, running back room, whatever, they fine him for that, like internally, because like, that was too much.
Like in the workplace, you'd like take a picture of it and put it on the employee wall so that he would see it next time he comes in.
Some sort of kangaroo court to take care of that, right? A bit of a flamboyant, almost like a Matador-esque performance out there, right? And then on the opposite side of that, we had the ref doing the great work, who was protecting JSN on the sidelines when JSN got pushed to the bench, and he just gave him the old, "You're not going to touch our guy."
That was wild.
Just gave him a little hug and just put a little biodome over him, a little Pauly Shore action. And so we had the tale of these interesting refs, an interesting game, and your videos, Coach, they're chock full of great stuff. So again, for all the Seahawks fans out there, whether you know Coach DC yet or not, you should get to know him now, or even better, get out there to All 22 Films, subscribe to the channel, and Coach, out on Twitter, it's all _22.
Don't ask me.
I think it's all _22 _NFL _cuts, I believe. Right?
I think I did that Twitter account when I was half-heartedly thinking about doing Twitter, because at one time I was like, man, I don't think I can handle another platform, another time.
Oh, yes.
And even now it's very difficult to post. I'd like to post more. What it's turned into is posting things during the game, and trying to capitalize on that. So yeah, it's something like that. NFL cuts. I wish I could go back and rename it, but thanks for the shout out. It's fun to do all of these. The most fun one for me has been trying to do quarterback film studies on Thursdays. I did a Darnold one this morning, and because it's challenging for me, I don't feel like I have the requisite level of expertise related to it. So I have to be a little bit more open-ended in my interpretation at times. Other guys like JT O'Sullivan and a couple of others, they can be, okay, this is this, and I know this terminology, boom. So I try to do the quarterback film studies on Thursdays for Darnold, Goff, and Lamar Jackson when he plays, which is hopefully, twice next week. So, appreciate the shout out for everything, man. Those are my most fun ones to do because they're the most challenging, at least for me right now.
Of course. Yeah, we're extremely happy to have you on with us. And so, Coach, we'll let you go for now, and we'll catch back up. And maybe, we're at 5-2, kind of the halfway point, and maybe somewhat later in the year, 3/4 of the way through, maybe towards the end of the year, hopefully looking at some playoffs. Maybe we can get
You will.
a retrospect on the Seahawks at that point. We can talk about the evolution. How's that sound to you?
Absolutely, man. Appreciate it. It's always fun. Thank you, guys. It goes by quick, so it's
It
enjoyable.
does. It does. You're the best, man. All right, Coach. We'll see you real soon.
Thanks a lot, man.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you, bud.
All right, Adam. So great time there with Coach. Let me get this off the screen, bring us back up here. So Adam, nice time there. And what's the rest of the bye week for you? Because like the bye week for me is going quick because we're recording this while the Chargers are playing the Minnesota Vikings. And I'm like, well, in a couple days we got to start thinking about these Commanders already, dude.
Yeah, we do. We do. And not only that, but here out on the homestead, man, we're just a couple of days away from when the snow really starts to hit. And so it's a full on scramble. I'm getting a roof on a new bedroom I built. We're trying to put up firewood. I'm trying to redo my well line, do all that. And then among all that, we're going to do some reviews on the rookies' progress throughout the year so far. I know that was one of the ideas that we had bantied about, and I love it.
Yeah.
And we're going to do a couple flagships here with Brandon. I was talking to him tonight. I think we're going to get after that on Saturday while he's on the road. So look forward to that. And man, there's just a lot of fun questions to ask about this team being 5-2, going into the bye, coming off a huge win, and knowing that there's almost infinite amount of room for improvement, and they're already kicking ass.
Yeah, this is a fun team. It's starting to be why we titled this with the thumbnail is like, how special, I forget what I called it, but it was something like, how special can this team be? Basically, what's the ceiling? And it's going to be, there's been years in the past where I've gotten over my skis, like for sure. I get excited. And I'm like, okay, this team has got a real legit shot. And turns out they really kind of didn't. Maybe they were fringy, playoffy, maybe when they gave them the playoffs, maybe not even, get through a wild card game. It's starting to feel different. I need a few more weeks of like back-to-back solid stacking some W's, chasing some edges with Coach Macdonald there. But I think I know the components are there. In fact, it's not I think the components are there. I know because how do I know that? Because like you called it out, dude. You called out, you put me on blast in a good way and said, look, I know what happens when a great defensive line plays a crap offensive line. It ends badly for the team with a crap offensive line. And that was the Texans. You were 100% right. I was 100% less right. And so that's a huge component. I think the run game, and a game that looked choppy and sloppy, you go back and look, it's like, well, we still ran the ball for 115 yards between the two backs and scored twice in the red zone with Charbonnet touchdowns, tight touchdowns. That's a hell of a lot better than last year right there as well. You got Sam playing great. You have a much progressed offensive line. You're getting an all-pro, extreme, so far, legendary season from your WR1 with JSN. So again, and you got tight ends woven in there, and you got role players. So it's got the componentry, and you got the great coaching. It's a little bit now, as we turn this and we get through the bye week, it's can we be whole? Because we've been great in pockets with moments of either being dumb or moments of collapsing a little bit or letting teams back in. And if we're letting the Cardinals back in and we still win, and we're letting the Texans back in and we still win, it's just going to be a different story if we let like a Detroit Lions team back in come the playoffs. It's going to end differently. So we got to be more whole. And that's what I'm going to be looking for is more completeness through 60 minutes of football, and not like, oh, well, we were really good for 80 minutes or 80% and we still won, but boy, did that get butt clenchy for no darn good reason.
Yeah, and it might just be in the water that rolls off of the Cascades that everybody's drinking out there. Maybe that's what makes it so that they are the cardiac Seahawks as we have come to know and love over the years. But this is a very young team. True. And so it doesn't surprise me to this point that they're still learning how to finish. They're still learning how to put all the complementary football pieces together. You talked about the defense and what they've been doing. And look, I think we all have to, even after a game that was frustrating, watching Clint Kubiak with the cup pass and not running the rock late in the game and all that stuff, It is a massive upgrade
Yeah.
over top of what we've experienced the last few years. And I'm not just talking Grubb. I'm talking Waldron. I'm talking to everybody, right? And it's a freaking joy to watch. And there's more growth to come out of it. And, you know, as Coach mentioned here in the video, the scheme itself has made this offensive line better. On top of bringing in Gray Zabel and having him be a very serviceable player despite playing a whole whopping 7 games in the league so far.
Yeah.
Like the amount of growth that could come along on the tail end of this season, there's not a big ceiling on this team. And then you top it all off, Clinton, because you're talking about how you might get a little Pollyanna, you know, this team is a contender this year and all that stuff. And I tend to be the opposite. I'm always like, no, I don't think so. This year, I think they are. And so with the youth on the team, the growth that's capable, and then you combine it with, and I think this is the most important point, who in the NFC is the favorite? Who?
Every week it changes, it seems. Which means there's probably not one, right? Because early it's the Packers, then it's the Lions, and the Lions get beaten, and then it's the Bucks, and the Bucks they get waxed by the Lions, right? And the Niners are hanging around. The Rams are 5-2, but they skate by in a couple of games. They don't look dominant, but they are good. They certainly are good. So, you know, that answer, I think, is the answer, right? It's like I don't think there is a absolute favorite. And by the way, I didn't even say the reigning Super Bowl champions, who are 5-2, Philadelphia Eagles, because exactly, they're on a roller coaster and they're inconsistent as can be on offense, and they're not as good as they were on defense last year. So it is wide open, which I think is what you were getting at.
100%, man. And they can just eliminate some of the negative rush plays. Like, that's fixing the run game to me. Just eliminate the negative ones, turn those into 1 to 2 yard gains. And all of a sudden, the run game's completely different. This offense is complete. And at that point, with the defense, this style of offense, which I've been banging the table for forever, this is playoff capable football. This is stuff that you can take anywhere in the playoffs, no matter the weather or under a dome, and you can wreak havoc. And that's why I'm with you this year, Clinton. Going into this bye, I think they're a legit contender.
Yeah, they just might be.
But I gotta say it quiet. It's scary.
Don't say it. Careful. It's a little spicy, right? I don't know, Jim. But if you're out there watching us or listening, Seahawkers podcast, we do ask you to do a couple simple things, right? Just like the videos, subscribe. Comments help a ton. Share it with folks out on Twitter. Share it with folks via text. You know some 12s in your life. Give them the gift of some Seahawkers podcast. And on screen for a bit here, we've had the thumbnail for the most recent 3 and 3 out, which is a great show. We do it like literally the day after or the day after that, right after the game. It's a film review show. We also get all these moments and people from our flock and our Discord sharing their favorite moments or the little things to them that made a play special. So of all of our shows, I think we do a good job really doing this for the fanatics, because that's what we are about the Seahawks also. And 3 and 3 out really likes to dig into those nooks, into those crannies. So we call it McDonald's Monsters. And Adam, we've been doing a lot more shorts lately. They've been helping us dominate the algorithm overlords. And we have a new short out on screen featuring Nick Imanwari that I think folks will really like to go see, because boy, is that dude really proving me wrong, which I'm so happy about.
Look, you were maybe on the downside of him when he was drafted. I was kind of in the, I guess we'll see camp, just combine warrior. And then, the tape is up and down. But if you don't go and click on that short and have yourself a ball watching some Eamon Warrior content, the dude is playing out of his mind. He's playing fast as a rookie. And I think that's the thing that really impresses me the most, is that it's hard thinking about all the things that are going on in a complex Mike Macdonald defense. And he's not thinking out there. He's reacting and is in the right spot 90% of the time. It's been darn impressive.
Yeah, that's exactly what that short does dissect, and it's such a joy to watch. He is a joy to watch out there. And my big thing leading up to it was kind of what Coach DC said. It's like, look, if he's playing way off the ball as a safety, I was like, ooh, I don't really know about his angles and some of his tackling. And then Mike Macdonald's like, well, don't worry about that because that's not where we're playing him. He's basically just playing a de facto linebacker. He's playing big nickel. He's in the box a lot. And he's being, like you said, he's got unbelievable athleticism, and then can mix it up or add to the fact that he's just being so intuitively smart out there. And he's finding himself in the right place at the right time over and over and over. And then, oh, by the way, when you're 6'3" and can jump out the building with 4.3 speed, you get these splash plays that you cannot ignore. So he's playing freaking lights out. So very excited about that. Go check out those. All right. Well, it's already Thursday. We'll probably put this out on Friday or Saturday, and then we'll get cranking, man. Then we got to start focusing and turn the page. You guys got flagships coming out, you and Brandon. I'm sure we'll get a crossover going with a Commanders guy or girl. And we got to go play a Commanders team that has been, I wouldn't even say up or down. They've been kind of like down, and you could run on this Commanders team. You could dictate, you could impose your will on this Commanders team. It's not as good as last year so far. We don't know if Jaden Daniels will play just yet. We'll see that as the week goes on. But where the Texans presented a really tough defense, I don't see that with this Commanders team, Adam. This would be a nice opportunity to be like, okay, we have this bye week. Can we see super crisp Kubiak and then execution where they don't have answers, and it starts at the very first possession, and we are a problem to them all the way until the whistle, until like we're in victory formation. That's what I want to see versus a Commanders team that, man, I think we can go get them.
Get your popcorn ready, buddy. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. And yeah, the Commanders D has been what it's been for 2 straight years now. And you hit it right on the head. It's a defense that you can impose your will on. After facing that Texans D, I'm not afraid of this offense going anywhere against any defense and being competent at this point. And just think about that in comparison to last year. It's been awesome. We're going to go deep this year, man. I'm telling you, it's happening. You can say Super Bowl. I mean, if that's what you want to say, that gets me a little squeamish, but I think they're going to have a run, buddy. And I'm fired up.
I'm ready for a run. I think with that,
there's only one thing left to say.
Go Hawks.
Go Hawks.